Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things that are happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. On today's show, we are covering another edition of our pop culture roundup. You know, there's a chill in the air, the leaves are turning, and pop culture stories are burning up. What are the things keeping me up at night? What are the things keeping you entertained? We're going to try to cover it all today. But before we do, I just have to give you this PSA because I'm feeling like manic today. I'm feeling all over the place. And I'm going to try to hone it in. I'm going to try not to like ramble on, and I'm going to try to like be really succinct in our pop culture stories so that we can then, you know, kiki online about them, because I like to do these pop culture roundups because you know, I dip in to say like, here's what's keeping me up, or here's the story that's breaking in my world. And then I love to hear from you on kind of what your like take is on it. And so I want to keep it succinct, but I also feel, like I said, I'm feeling just all over the place. And I think you guys know why. Because on Tuesday this week, Britney Spears dropped her memoir, The Woman in Me. And if you listened to my last episode, the Britney Spears deep dive with Jordan Miller, founder of Breathe Heavy, you know that I am, and if you've also listened to any of the episodes of this podcast, you know that Britney Spears is my number one pop culture, pop goddess. She is my life in so many ways. 25 years ago, this woman entered my life in such a massive way, and I rediscovered myself when I discovered Britney Spears. And so absorbing her memoir and her story in her words, on her terms, it's been a roller coaster. And I'm so happy for her, but it's also such a heart-wrenching story. And there's so many things. I mean, literally from the get-go, you're getting some like really tragic things that have happened in her life and in her family sort of history that like really sets the tone for all the things that are to come. And I'm gonna do a full episode dedicated to sort of recap and review the book. But yeah, it's just been a roller coaster. And then in addition to that, we have been just traveling like crazy. My husband and I, well, we haven't, I guess, been traveling so much. See, here I already go. I can't even get my words straight. But we had guests that came 2 weekends in a row. Some of our best friends came to visit us here in Nashville, and so much fun to see them and like have a blast and catch up. And, you know, that's something that like truly gives me and my husband both like just energy. We love being around friends, the people that are like chosen family for us. Like we love bringing them in and hosting them and just spending time catching up. And so it's been so refreshing. And then after that, a couple of weekends ago, we flew to LA to surprise one of our other best friends for his birthday. And shout out to Hooter. But it was like exhausting. It was like we were just like go every weekend there was something. And, you know, this last weekend we were like, oh, we're going to take it easy. We're going to chill. We're going to relax. That didn't quite happen the way that we had hoped, but that's also very us. Like we set out to say like we're gonna have a chill weekend, and then we like pack it full of things. Um, but yeah, it was just like there was so much going on, and it's been so chaotic. And by the way, the chaos continues because this weekend, friend of the podcast who hasn't been on, but she's going to be, Emily, I've given her shout outs on this podcast before, but now I'm giving her a real one because this weekend is her birthday. She's my Scorpio queen and my soul sister. And I am so excited to celebrate her this weekend. And so we've got, you know, some big plans for that. And then, the following weekend, guys, I have a birthday. And so I'm going to be celebrating that with all of my favorite people as well. And so it's just, you know, it's been like a really, really amazing like month, 6 weeks. I don't know how long this is going on, but it's really truly also I thrive in the fall. So this is my like season that I come alive. And I'm just so I'm feeling good, but I'm also, like I said, like I'm on the heels of The Woman in Me. Danny Pellegrino released his new book on Tuesday as well. Shout out to him if he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. The Jolliest Bunch. It's so funny. It's like a great holiday classic. It's something that you could pick up year over year and check out. And so that came out. So that's been like a nice soft landing to some of the harder stuff that we've been reading about Britney. And she is in the news. And like I said, we're going to get into our pop culture topics now, but I'm not going to cover a lot of the stuff that is in the book and the revelations that came from the book, because we have a dedicated episode coming to about The Woman in Me coming. So hold on for those. We are definitely going to talk about them, but I want to give myself some time and space to sort of fully absorb the book and then deliver back my thoughts to all of you. And then we can kiki online about it. But what are we talking about outside of Britney? What are we talking about? Of course, we are talking about the cruel summer that once was, the cruel summer that we're leaving behind. But Cruel Summer went number one. And of course, I'm talking about Taylor Swift. I feel like I didn't need to say that, but I guess for some of you, maybe you aren't familiar. Cruel Summer was a single on Taylor Swift's Lover album 4 years ago. Okay. Fans were like, no, that didn't get its due. It never really had the impact to pop music as people thought it needed. And so everyone was like, with the Eras tour and everything going on, we're going to make this the Cruel Summer. And of course, the power of Swifties, they did it. Taylor's team got behind it. They sent the song to radio as an official single. They've helped do some other promotional efforts that helped push it up the charts, but it's been in the Hot 100 for several weeks. And, the movie came out, the Eras Tour movie, which broke records. Taylor continues to sort of redefine the entertainment industry in the way that she's doing all of this, which is just so fascinating and incredible. But Cruel Summer is now the number one song on Billboard Hot 100. And that is the power of Swifties 4 years later. But also with Taylor, it's her romance is back in center stage. She really took a break from being in the limelight with her romantic life when she dated Joe for all those years. And no more. She's out and proud with her new romance, Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. And also, by the way, does Taylor have a type? Because all of these guys that she's dated publicly, I'm I don't know if I see a really common thread. I maybe could between some of the early ones, like the Joe Jonases and the Harry Styles, but now we've got Travis Kelce in here. I am where does this woman fall? I don't know. But I'm here for it, by the way. I am here for it. And I don't know if I'm totally here for the way that the NFL has adopted her as their official spokeswoman now. They're truly leaned into this, where I feel like they're spending more time talking about Taylor at the games than they are on the game itself. As a football non-fan, I'm totally fine with it because I'm not going to tune in either way. But it is insane to me that viewership of Kansas City Chiefs games is at a record high or something because of Taylor Swift, because people are just trying to get a glimpse of something that they're going to see online 5 seconds after it happens. So I don't know. It's really, really wild. The power of the Swifties, like I said, they are a dedicated bunch. Let me say that. But of course, that is all over the news everywhere that they go. They surprise dropped in at SNL. They both sort of made various appearances. And yeah, they're being photographed like crazy. I mean, it's truly, they're becoming the, Meghan and Harry, and actually who they're becoming. And I watched the Netflix documentary this last weekend of David Beckham. If you haven't seen it, it's just called Beckham. Highly, highly recommend it. I think it's 4 episodes, all about an hour-ish. So I watched them all within a day. I was obviously trying to recoup and recover from, as I said, it's been a busy couple of weeks, so don't judge me. But yeah, I binge watched them. So fascinating. First of all, it's not only a, walk down memory lane of his career, but it's actually like the retelling of the love story between him and Victoria. And, again, if you know me, the Spice Girls have defined me in so many ways, in the way that I love pop music and the way that like I really came to enjoy pop culture. But Posh was my number one. And I had a poster of her in my bedroom growing up. And so I loved seeing, her perspective of their romance, but it really was like she was in the stands at his games, and they tried to be sort of private about it until they couldn't. And then they were everywhere and being photographed, and then it became about their fashions and the way that he was dressing. And, it really like is mimicking a lot of what's happening between Taylor and Travis. And so it was interesting watching that story. They've been together now for years and years and years. And obviously this is new for Taylor and Travis, so it remains to be seen where this romance goes. But some of the ways in which it's like this hot topic and all over the news is really reminiscent of their story. And so, like I said, if you haven't seen Beckham on Netflix, I do recommend it because it's really, really interesting. And if you're not like a soccer fan or a football fan, depending on where you live, it's very heavily like you learn about, Victoria and the Spice Girls, and you learn a lot about like their kids and like how they had to move around. And so it's not like, watching a documentary about sports. Because, if it was, I'd probably have been tuned out before the first episode ended. And like I said, I watched them all together. So that is going on. Also at the Eras Tour movie premiere, we got our first glimpse at the Mean Girls musical trailer. It was a little teaser starring Renee Rapp as Regina George. We're, of course, getting the musical version of the iconic pop culture phenomenon that is Mean Girls, and then became a Broadway musical hit. And I've never seen the musical, so I'm very excited for the movie version that's coming out in January. But we got our first teaser, and somebody recorded it in the theater, and it made its way online and looks very interesting and entertaining. So I am ready to see, all of our Caddy Heron, Gretchen Wiener, Regina Georges. I'm ready for them all. Some of our favorite characters, side characters from the movie are returning. John Hamm is going to be Coach Carr. I mean, there's just like, it's like a pretty iconic lineup. So I'm excited to see it. And I was excited to see the first trailer. Also, sort of burning up my timelines and my feeds, Dancing with the Stars. And maybe this is just me. Because I know Dancing with the Stars is like, been on for what, like 1,000+ years. And I'm trying to decide, is it because I'm part of the Bravo universe and so much of what I follow and the people that I follow are part of this like Bravo fandom? Or is this truly like, has Dancing with the Stars been like reborn? You'll have to tell me, because if you're a Dancing with the Stars fan, maybe you're like, yeah, every year it's in the news and every year we're talking about all of it. But I feel like every time I'm on the internet, there's something about going on with Dancing with the Stars. There's, romance rumors. Of course, we've got Ariana from Vanderpump Rules. I almost said from Scandival, which yes, also. And I watched one episode just to kind of see what was going on, and Jamie Lynn was on it, so I needed to see what she was up to. And then she was on it, and I think it was the same episode she got voted off. And then, but like Ariana is like really good. I think she might win it actually. So that's exciting for her. She continues to win. And then of course Mauricio is on it, and everyone's, is Kyle going to show up in the audience? And now there's rumors that he was seen holding hands with his partner, and, which I guess is true because Kyle was on Watch What Happens Live and kind of confirmed it, that she was hurt by it. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but it's every time like I said, every time I'm online, I'm seeing something about Dancing with the Stars. So I feel like it's very much relevant again, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just the people that I'm following that, are very interested in this season. So, but let me know, shout out in the comments, or, follow me online, and let's talk about it, because I probably won't watch a lot of it, but I will be interested to see kind of how far our Bravo labs make it. And then speaking of dancing, Madonna is officially on the Celebration tour. We weren't sure if it was going to happen after she had to, cancel a lot of the dates or pause the dates, reschedule them, I guess, due to the bacterial infection that put her in the hospital. She was like in pretty critical condition from what it sounded like. She has gone on stage and talked about how she didn't know she was going to make it, and it sounded pretty dire. So, I mean, it's wonderful to see her deliver this Celebration tour. From everything I can see online, it feels mixed. I've seen people saying that, she's delivering, she's got tons of costume changes. It's what you would expect from a Madonna kind of spectacle. On the other flip side, I'm also hearing that like maybe she's like not done all of the songs in the set list and that she's ended early. And so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I know that I know some folks that are going to the show, and also some folks that have already been. And from what I can tell, they're all having a blast, and good for her. I mean, I'm such a Madonna fan, and I would love to see her on this tour, but I'm also like, I feel like there's a bit of Madonna that like she's looking for relevance in the wrong places. Is like, I'd rather see her age gracefully and understand that like maybe she can't do all of the things that she used to do when she was on stage, and that's okay. We still celebrate that. Um and so I've been like a little concerned about the things that I was seeing online, that kind of like I wasn't ready to like invest in it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll end up catching one of the shows when it comes through. But yeah, that has kicked off. This last week we also got the premiere of Winter House. Um, it's I'm not sure how I'm feeling quite yet. I thought it was good. I thought it was strange that we didn't address where Amanda was. Kyle like shows up with Corey, and they have like their first night. And at some point, like Kyle said, like, oh yeah, Amanda will be here tomorrow or whatever. But I thought it was just strange that like straight off the bat, it wasn't like, oh, Amanda's like back at home working, or she couldn't make it because of this. It was like almost an afterthought that like maybe producers thought that we wouldn't wonder where Amanda was. So I was very curious. And then this is the first time that they're bringing like an ensemble cast from all the different stuff. So we've got somebody from Family Karma, we got Brian, we've got folks from Below Deck on. We've of course got Tom Schwartz, which we knew, and we've seen him on Winter House before with Sandoval. But I'm not sure. And then Jordan from Martha's Vineyard, but that's part of the Summer House family. I don't know. There's just there's an energy that I'm like, do all of these people really like, are they going to have storyline the way that the, Summer House cast did when they brought it all to Winter House? It was like, I guess also there's no Southern Charm people this year. And in the past there were Southern Charm because we had Austin and Craig. I don't know. So maybe it's not that unusual. I just feel like this time I was like, do these people really know each other? And then of course none of them are like, oh, we know each other because we're all reality stars, and so we've met each other at like Bravo events. They're like, oh, I like met this person like a couple of years ago. And it's like, well, but are you friends? And is that gonna like translate into a season? I mean, the season looks like it, is gonna be fun, and there's some drama, and there's some, stuff that we're gonna like get into, some romance and stuff. So I'm interested, but I'm cautious. I also know that this was filmed like a year ago. I mean, this was filmed so long ago, and so much has happened since then. So, I mean, they're literally talking about Scandival having just broken like a week before. And so that's now how long ago this has been that they're filming. And so I'm like, I wonder if this is going to feel relevant, because again, so many things have happened with these cast members and stuff since then, that we'll see how it goes. And time will tell. But we've got the premiere of that. Also, I know I said that we weren't going to talk The Woman in Me because I've got a whole episode coming of that. But the one thing I will say is we got the audition of Brittany for The Notebook. We had heard about this for years and years. They have talked about how Brittany potentially could have been Rachel McAdams' part in The Notebook. And I think people really thought that like that was kind of a joke, or like, oh yeah, I'm sure. But so the casting director released her audition tape, and people are like blowing up about it. They're like, wow, this is really incredible. Like, she does an amazing audition. And he even said, I actually pulled the quote. He said, Scarlett Johansson, Claire Danes, Kate Bosworth, Amy Adams, Jamie King, and Mandy Moore all auditioned for this role. Britney Spears beat out all of them. Everybody who was anybody that year wanted this part. So, and Britney apparently says in her book that she was like offered the role and essentially turned it down. And so that was pretty shocking, but the casting director came with the receipts and we're loving that. So if you haven't seen it, I urge you to, because it shows that like Britney has got some range. So check that out. What else? I find it really hard that I know everyone is kind of talking about it, that this year has been really difficult on romances and relationships. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I know some people in my personal life who have had relationship struggles this year. And it's like the energy of this year is not great. And it's sad. It's really sad. But just in this last month, we have heard a ton of romances and relationships that have ended. Maren Morris and her husband Ryan Hurd filed for divorce. We learned Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith apparently have been separated for years and years. That was like her big revelation from her book, that she's now on a book tour and she can't stop talking about it. And, it feels a little bit manufactured for the book and for the sales of the book, because if you don't remember, or if you don't remember, which I can't imagine is the case, but about a year ago, we're talking about the famous slap that was heard around the world when Will Smith said, get my wife's, motherfucking name out of your mouth to Chris Rock before he slapped him across the face. And I am just like, what? I'm so confused, because why did we get so passionate about that when you're separated from this woman for 6+ years or whatever? It's like, I don't know. I don't understand it. Why are you guys are separated but like not divorced for the children's sake, or I don't know. I'm a little bit confused by it. To each their own, but it was certainly a shocking kind of revelation that she came forward with. But then our queen, Meryl Streep, announced that her and her husband were like the same thing. They were been separated for like 7 years. And like, I don't know who her husband is. So maybe I'm like in the minority here, but I started thinking, well, maybe there is like some, tax reasons, or, maybe they didn't have a prenup, so it's like cheaper for her to not like split all of her earnings or something with him. And so she just like pays him some kind of like, spousal support or something every year. I don't know. I don't know any of this. So don't come for me because I have not fact checked any of this. But I'm like, maybe that's like part of the reason. I just don't understand why you'd separate for so many years, but never actually divorce. That just feels like purgatory. It's like, if you don't want to be with that person, why are you not completely separating? So I don't know. But that was news that came out. Joshua Jackson and Jodie Turner Smith also filed for divorce. Lauren Manzo from Real Housewives of New Jersey, Caroline Manzo's daughter, and her husband Vito, they filed for divorce. She has come out and said that this has been in the works for a long time and that they're amicable, and they just decided that, that this was best. And then breaking news this week is that PK and Dorit are apparently living in like either separate houses and that they are also separated, but privately. And they have come out with a statement because this like took off right as, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was premiering, which we'll get into in just a second. It like came out as news, like breaking news as the premiere was about to take place. So it felt a little convenient. They have since come out and said that isn't true, that they experienced a tough year, but they're more in love than ever. And, they're not separated and that they're very much together, living together. But then on Watch What Happens Live, a fan asked, what do you guys think about this, to Kyle and Teddy? And Kyle was first of all shocked. She was like, oh, I hadn't heard that. And then Andy was like, but had you heard it before the news broke and before it was like in the headlines? And she like kind of smirked and she was like, no, but she, looked like maybe she was saying yes. So I don't know. I was like, was that sort of a admission to that? And then the other thing is, if we remember at BravoCon last year, Andy asked the very shady question to Erica Jane, who do you think is the next Bravo celebrity to, split up? And she said PK and Dorit, which ends up playing out in the premiere episode. And so it's like people obviously think that there is something going on. And now like there's photos of PK like around town where he's not wearing his wedding ring. And so I don't know. I don't know if that is another relationship that's about to end, but tough year for relationships. And I surely hope that everyone is finding their happiness and that, we can all move into a healthier and more loving place in this new year. But let's get into the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills premiere, shall we? Because that was on this week, and it was interesting because I kind of was like, we don't have Rinna this year, so like, do we have a villain? Do we have sort of that antagonist? Do we have the person that's going to really come in and stir the pot and keep the storyline moving? And I think verdict is out on that. I was a little bit like curious where we were going to go because obviously we knew the Mauricio and Kyle story is going to play out, but the separation news broke after the cameras went down. So I didn't really know what we would actually get in the season. And it does seem as though we are going to get that storyline, especially right here in the premiere. They've already, there's already signs that something is afoot. But I felt like this premiere episode was really all about the side players. I mean, does anybody else feel like kinship to Eagle Woman? That's her name, by the way, if you haven't watched. Her name is Eagle Woman. And Dorit hosts this like spiritual get together, like therapy session, hosted by Eagle Woman, who I also was unclear what she actually does. But at one point she was like, oh, I love that rock is looking at us because it looks like a grandfather and it's going to watch over us. And like, I mean, the producers, I think, just found like a random rock and they were like, okay, let's just like get a quick shot of that fucking rock over there and call it a day. I don't know. I also saw like some of the women just like trying not to laugh when they met Eagle Woman. I thought it was hilarious. But then I was like, what did she actually do? Because she was like, okay, we're going to all just air our grievances and everyone go around and this is a safe space. And then Dorit, of course, who's hosting, was like, Erica, I have a problem with you because of what you said at BravoCon and about PK and I. And Erica came out, was like, well, do you have a strong marriage? And of course, Dorit says that they do and that she thought that was really insensitive. And then Erica has a breakdown and is like, I was in a bad place and I said things I shouldn't have and that wasn't nice. And So she's crying, and Eagle Woman's like, it's a breakthrough. We've broken through. But then, like, she's like, anyone else want to go? And then Kyle's like, I'll go next. And then Kyle says her piece about like what was going on with the Kathy situation last year and how she felt sort of abandoned, and why she felt like she didn't like come for the other women because she was exhausted by the relationship with Kathy and blah blah blah. But I'm like, oh, and then they ultimately, like, I felt like everyone was also getting really cold because at one point, like, they showed Dorit like going to get her jacket and like putting it on, and then Eagle Woman's like, okay, I suggest we all start doing a little bit of movement and a move, and then all the girls like get together and have a group hug, and then she's like, perfect, we're perfect. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, how much did this woman get paid? Because all she had to do was say, all right, let's all air our grievances in a circle and then hug at the end. And I mean, I have to assume she's getting paid from these women. And I'm like, where do I get that job? Because, I'll, call me Hawkman and I'll, I'll do it. You know, I'm here for it. Donkey boy, whatever you want to call me, pick an animal and a gender, and here I am. I'm here for it. Um, because I would love to do some healing with these women and just basically help facilitate them opening up. Um, but yeah, so that was incredible. And then also side player, Jennifer Tilly. Hello. We've seen her like in a glimpse before on the show, but she actually had a full scene with Sutton. We do know that Sutton and her are like besties. They travel all the time together. They truly, truly feel like they're best friends. And so we got to see a little bit of that. And, what a treasure. I've said it before on this podcast that I think maybe Jennifer Tilly could like make a housewife. But I don't know, I think I like her in this like role, but I'm like, maybe she's the Mary of Beverly Hills. Like maybe she's this like, kind of eccentric woman that comes in and like says like hilarious things off to the side, and then, but she's really nothing like Mary, actually, as I'm saying it, is like she was kind of a voice of reason. She was like very like supportive of Sutton and kind of leading her in really positive ways. So I was really enjoying her. And I felt like we needed more Jennifer Tilly, and maybe we'll get more. Um, but I would love to see her a more like staple on the show. And then what else? I mean, Erica's bringing looks. She went through a lot in the last few seasons, and I don't know where I stand with, you know, Erica Jane. And I feel like it's very clear that she was aware because she mentions it. Like, I'm walking in to these women without my friend, Lisa Rinna, who was always the one to sort of pull her out and protect her in these kind of group situations. And so she was very aware of that. And she said that. And the Bravo producers cut to, Lisa Rinna's email where she quote unquote resigned. We actually know the story there because Andy has shared it, that Lisa Rinna sent an email that's like one night after the reunion or whatever that said that she's not coming back. And then the next day called and said, oh no, just kidding, I do want to come back. And then Bravo was like, oh no, we're actually not offering you a contract. So it was nice of them, I think, to like give her that due by showing the email because it's going to make her feel good and her ego. Um, but, it's very clear that Erica knows that that's something that she has going against her going into the season, is that she doesn't have a lot of allies. And she mentions it, in even the trailer for like next week when she's talking to Dorit, and she's like, I don't have a lot of friends. So I think that she's aware of that. And I wonder how that's going to sort of influence the way that she shows up. And I think that worries me. And I think that's like Garcelle sort of nailed it, as like Erica's breaking through and Erica's like seemingly like showing empathy for other women, where in the past she really struggled with some of that. But then it's like, but how authentic is all of that? And so I don't know, time will tell, but I will say she's bringing the looks. And of course, she's saying that she's lost all this weight from some hormones. Dorit, very shadily in her confessionals, said, is hormones spelled Ozempic? So she kind of calls her out for being on Ozempic, potentially, allegedly. But, she looks great, whatever she's doing, hopefully, doing something healthy. But she looks great and she is turning looks. I mean, I am trying to think. I think we only got like one confessional look from Kyle, maybe two. But I can only picture really one. I feel like I can only picture one for Dorit because it's a wild one. By the way, I don't know if I'm loving Dorit as a brunette. I think she needs the blonde hair and this like Chanel confessional look. It's just too much. It's like, it looks like an ad for Chanel. It's like team too much. It's like, I like a more subtle look. But like Erica, we had at least 3 confessional looks from her in this episode, and all of them were stunning. So she's bringing the looks. And then, we got like a touching scene with Garcelle and her sons, her twin boys who are 15, although it was kind of insane watching her walk one of them through how to pump gas. And I was like, you're 15. And then he was like, I can't wait to drive. And I'm like, oh no, you can't drive if you don't know how to pump gas. So, but, there was a touching scene with them where they talked about her, how her work schedule has brought her away and how they feel like she wasn't maybe there as a parent in some cases. But, yeah, I don't know. We didn't get a lot from Crystal this episode. We didn't get anything from our newbie. And yeah, I think that's really it. Just kind of an intro. Oh, of course, we got the Mauricio and Kyle. How could I forget? We got the scene that kind of ended the episode with them where Kyle's like, we never see each other. We have to schedule appointments just to talk about our schedule. Mauricio's like talking about golfing and he's got to go to, Portugal, and he can't, because he's going to Portugal, he can't go to Coachella. And Kyle's like, yeah, well, I can't go to Portugal and I've got stuff going on too. And I don't know. So you definitely can sense the tension there. But the craziest part, which is now I've seen it all over the internet, is that he doesn't know how many tattoos she has. And he's like, how many tattoos do you have now? And she's like, 5. And he's like, I thought you only had 3. And she shows him all the tattoos that she has. And she's like, well, maybe you should be looking at my body a little bit more closely. And, he makes this face like he was shocked that she sort of called him on that. And then on camera, obviously. And then she, mentions that, she might get another one. And he's like, no, I won't allow it. And she's like, well, it's not up to you. And I'm going to get another one. And that's like where you're really seeing like, oh, is he like super controlling? Has that always been the case? Is this just like tension that has been brewing, but it didn't feel playful and fun the way that like Mo and Kyle have been in the past? And even when they've like argued in the past, you kind of felt like there was still love there. Did not feel that in this scene. So TBD on what we've got to come for there, but I feel like we've got a lot. And then in the preview for next week, it already looked like we're already getting into Mauricio's mother is like, Kyle, what's going on? I can't go online without seeing divorce rumors or cheating rumors, and looks like we're heating up. So very excited about that. Following the premiere, as I mentioned, we had Kyle and Teddy were on Watch What Happens Live. I know that Teddy gets a ton of hate online about being like the worst housewife in history and super boring, and that, all the things that have happened about her. God, what's that business that she has? Her accountability coaching business where she like basically tells people to lose weight, they should like eat like a piece of lettuce. And she's like, ooh, I've got a really great recipe where you put like a piece of lettuce and then you put like a crumble of cucumber on it. And that should be like your dinner. She's gotten like a lot of hate in the past for that. And of course, now she's got her podcast with Tamra, and where she talks about Housewives. And everyone calls her really thirsty, like she's just trying to get back on the show. Well, first of all, she's debuted a new look last night. It was wild. I mean, I felt like she was hardly recognizable with the things that she has done to her face, and then that hair. I mean, she's like going bleach blonde. It was a wild look. But everything that people say online about her, I'm sorry, it's true. I'm sorry. It's not nice to say those things, and I feel, bad when people get attacked online in that kind of way. But she like is not doing herself any favors. She does come across thirsty. She is actually very boring. Like, even when she's trying to be like messy, it comes across as like, oh, she's trying to be messy, which actually just reads as boring. And the one thing is, Andy was like, he always plays with some of his guests, this Bravo own or Bravo No You Didn't or something, where people that are like obsessed with Bravo shows kind of give their hot takes on various things that he asks. And so he did that with Teddy, given her sort of takes on their podcast. And I was like, everything that she asked about Beverly Hills, at least, she made about her. It was like, he would be like, what do you feel about, seeing, the tension between Kyle and Mauricio in tonight's episode? And she's like, well, when I first filmed my first season, I was going through something with my husband that we weren't saying on camera. And so I felt like I really resonated with it. And it's like, okay, but first of all, I didn't know that there was anything going on with your husband. So it was like she was baiting Andy to like be like, oh, there's a storyline there. We should have like followed that, or like, what's going on? Let's find out more. And she did that with like every question that was asked. It was like it always came back to something that she did when she was either on the show or something that she's doing currently. And it was like, that's not what he asked. He asked about your opinion about what's on the show. You're not on the show. So why are you talking about you? It was very strange. But, it was an interesting, Andy kind of went there with Kyle. He asked a lot of the questions, what's going on with Morgan? What's true? What's not? What's going on with Mauricio? Are you guys, in the same house, which we learned that, he's in the primary and Kyle has moved into another room, but they're under the same roof. As I mentioned earlier, he asked about the Dancing with the Stars rumors that he was seen holding hands with his partner, and Kyle said she was very hurt by it. She went there, and she also addressed that like people are saying that this is all done for ratings post Scandival. That there's a lot of talk online that like Kyle and Mauricio, because they're so strong as a couple, they're actually taking one for the team for ratings of the show, to say like, we'll have a whole storyline about us separating, and we'll put it in the news, and we'll make it a big thing the way Scandival did, in order to like drive the ratings up. And she's like, that's really hurtful because my family's going through something really painful, and so to think that we would be faking it for the sake of a show is not right. So yeah, so we'll see if we have a season. I always love my Beverly Hills girls, and I always think that like the show brings a different perspective than some of the other cities. But we'll see, time will tell. And then also, just I guess closing out, RHONY is coming to an end. The final reunion episode is airing this weekend. We are putting a pin in this rebooted version or era of RHONY. I don't think Jenna Lyons will be back. She doesn't seem interested in this platform. I think she did it as an experiment for herself. I don't know that she is interested in coming back, though. She doesn't strike me as having enjoyed it or really understanding it. And I think that the cast, it was good, not great. It's definitely not our old school RHONY. And I know that that's like an unpopular thing to say, because everyone says it's like a lazy thing to say. Like, of course, we're never going to get our Ramona, Sonia, Luann, Dorindas. We're never going to get that again. That's magic. But it's like, but that is what we're trying to accomplish, though. Is like, we need We need magic. And, I also was thinking, I feel like Jenna Lyons actually might have had more of a shot and would have been more like interested in continuing on in this platform if she had joined the previous women. Because I'm thinking like, a Jenna Lyons and a Carol, Jenna Lyons and a Heather, Jenna Lyons and so many of these people. I think there's a potential there that she actually could have played really well and fit in with some of these other ladies, where I think her being sort of the matriarch of this first season like didn't end up ultimately playing out in the way that I think that Bravo had hoped. And some of the people that started really strong, like the Aarons, and I think even Sai sort of started strong, and Bryn, I feel like sort of faded by the end. I think that Bryn is strong enough to come back. I think Jessel is like killing it. She was on in Rolling Stone. She's like coming out as kind of the breakout. And she started, I remember when I did my premiere recap on Roni, I said, oh, we don't need Jessel. Like she was like a non-character. She was quiet and in the background, and I don't care about her story. By the end, she was sitting right next to Andy, and she's like the one that I'm like, if anyone's coming back, it's Jessel. So, I definitely think that I think Uba realized that she sort of sat in the background a little bit too much, because I like Uba. I like feasting my eyes on Uba on the screen because she's such a beauty. But she sat in the back a little bit too much, and I think she realized it. And so when she came in too hot on Jenna Lyons. Like in the reunion, there was just like moments where Andy was talking about like two other people, and then Uba would be like, yeah, and Jenna Lyons is not who you think. And it was like, and Andy's like, okay, I guess we'll get to that later, because like that's not what we're talking about right now. It came across very weird, and I feel like she realized like I need to have our enemy that I can like spar with in this reunion. Otherwise, I'm sitting on the end of the couch. I'm not going to be back. So I felt like it was coming across too much. So yeah, I don't know. I liked how we started it. I didn't love where it went. I thought it moved way too slow. And I don't know where to go from here, because I feel like I do want maybe some of our original women back and put them with some of these newer players, and let's get back to form. I don't know. It'll be interesting though. I'll of course continue watching and see where we go from here. But yeah, I think that's, everything happening in pop culture, at least from my perspective. Of course, if I'm missing something big, let me know, because send me the link, send me the receipts. I need to know. I want to be up to date. So definitely follow me on all the socials. I'm at CM Vetrano. And yeah, thanks for tuning in for another edition of our Pop Culture Roundup. We'll, of course, bring these to you every month. And we've got some, fun fall holiday themed content that's coming up, some fun interviews. So don't forget to rate and subscribe so that you never miss an episode of The Gist. And until next week, it's Chris Vetrano, and next week is my birthday, guys. So we're having a birthday episode. So please come back and tune in and be with me. And I will talk to you all then. Until then, have a great weekend and a great week to come. Bye.